We start today with some breaking news. Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. And while he's gone, Nancy Pelosi is still with us. And she has some words to say about President Donald Trump.
Just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the president of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives. He's chilled the press. He's scared people who are in our country legally.
I don't know how you abolish the House of Representatives, but last time I checked, it was still there. I mean, they're not really doing much of anything, but it still exists. And scaring people who are in our country legally, I think she's confusing legally with illegally. But again, that's what happens when you get on in age and you have as much to drink in your life as she has. President Donald Trump must be doing something right if Nancy Pelosi is so angry. In fact, it's not just Nancy Pelosi who's so angry at Donald Trump and his administration. It's every Democrat across the country. Every Democrat, whether it's an elected official or just a rowdy voter, they're furious with the success that President Donald Trump has experienced in his second term. And we know that because Stephen Miller went on Fox News for some Miller time to explain just how vile and evil and disgusting the Democrats have become.
The Democrat Party has become dangerously, violently radicalized. And you're right, Sean. I get death threats every day. My wife gets death threats every day. We've obviously had to deal with pretty extensive doxing campaigns. But the truth is, Sean, that people across the country, across the government, across law enforcement, who are fighting for safety, security, prosperity, are dealing with radical left communist threats and attacks all day long. And President Trump, of course, came within centimeters of being assassinated.
1 millimeter.
During the middle of his rally on live television by a wicked, evil assassin, and then only weeks later, a second assassin, if not for a Secret Service agent spotting the barrel of that gun, would have taken President Trump's life, saved by the hand of God himself. We are dealing with a party that is so extreme that considers its opponents to be its mortal enemies, that dehumanizes its opposition, that justifies violent attacks against federal law enforcement, assaults against ICE and Border Patrol, that sides over and over again with criminal aliens, MS-13 gangbangers. Look at how they venerated and worshipped and praised the MS-13 child smuggler that they dubbed the Maryland Dad, somebody who beat his wife and smuggled children and was a member of a terrorist organization, and they held him up as their hero. This is a dangerous party. This is a dangerous movement. And what you're seeing in New York City with Mamdani, that is the future. A party that believes in no bail, a party that believes in no jail, a party that believes in no borders. But here's one group they do want to put in jail. They're political enemies. Like good commies, they will not arrest the criminals. They won't arrest the gang members, but they will arrest their political opposition. That's how society dies, Sean. That's what we're up against now. And that is that's a stark reminder or a stark warning to the folks in New York City and Minneapolis and across the country about electing Democrats and communists to positions of power. And while we can't control every election everywhere, and while there will be bad people who win elections in some very important places, the majority of us need to remember that voting for Democrats is a bad thing. Voting for Democrats destroys cities and economies and cultures. Voting for Democrats makes you less safe. Voting for Democrats is a vote for criminals and terrorists and illegal aliens. Voting for Democrats is something that is going to see the end of our democratic republic as it was envisioned by our founding fathers. And right now, one of the few things standing between us and total democratic destruction is President Donald Trump and his administration. And we see that with the continued shutdown, the shutdown that now is almost the longest in history. Why? Because the Democrats, again, are siding with illegal criminal thug aliens. The Democrats have decided that it's okay for
planes to sit on the ground and people to miss funerals and important life events. It's okay for people not to get their food payments for WIC or for SNAP. It's okay for people not to get their paychecks, even if they're fighting in the military or have important government jobs, like, making sure our air traffic is safe. These are the people that would much rather protect illegal aliens than hardworking Americans. We're not really sure why. We're not really sure what benefit they see in it, but they hate and abhor this country so much that they're willing to destroy it from the inside. And when you vote for Democrats, that's exactly what you get. You get inside destruction. You're bringing the virus into the body and letting it eat away at the flesh. I'm getting off track here, but it is election day, and there's some pretty important elections in Virginia and New Jersey and New York and Minnesota that we are tracking, and we want to make sure go the right way. Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, had a pretty grim update on the air traffic situation and the situation going on with the government shutdown.
What is leverage? Their leverage is to hurt the American people, right? They're willing to hurt air travelers, whether they're going to a funeral, they're going to see family members. Pretty soon we're going to have kids coming home from college for Thanksgiving break. They're willing to endanger poor people who can't get food stamps. They're willing to risk subsidies in regard to health insurance. They don't care who they hurt. They care about power. By the way, we had an election a little less than a year ago, and Donald Trump crushed it. He won the popular vote. He won the 7 swing states. Democrats lost. And so if you want to pass legislation, you can introduce it, you can debate it, but government shutdowns trying to garner leverage is not the way that you do it. Debate it, vote on it, and then come back and try to win elections.
Yeah, but they can't. They know that they can't. They know that's he basically hit the nail on the head right there. The Democrats are looking around going, man, we can't win elections. The more elections we try to win, the more elections we lose. We're horrible at this kind of thing. People don't like us. They don't like our policies. They don't trust us to get things done. They look at Donald Trump and they go, there's a guy with great ideas who's going to keep us safe, who's going to boost our economy, who's going to help us win. There's a guy that knows what's up. And they vote for him instead. The Democrats have no idea how to win an election. And so all they can do is manipulate this government shutdown for their enjoyment or for their political, I guess you would say, prowess. And Mike Johnson is out there every single day fighting to open this thing back up and saying, look, by the way, they're lying to you too.
Let me show you another obviously false claim. Obviously false claim number 2 of the Democrats is that Republicans are being unreasonable. Well, here's the fact. Let me see the next one. The fact is very simple. Republicans are refusing to accept the Democrats' outrageous demands. Now, why do we say that? Now, remember, the Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government. And we could do that today. If they would pass that today, with 0 strings attached, everything would be flowing again and the government would work. Importantly, remember that we offered that CR in good faith. And why do we say that? Because it was offered after a bipartisan, bicameral negotiation between both chambers. Because you see, you had the appropriators, Republican and Democrat appropriators, who got together and decided they agreed on the need for a short-term CR so that they could continue their negotiations on the full year funding bills.
Yeah, basically what he's saying is the Democrats are lying about everything. The Democrats are lying about the funding. The Democrats are lying about the Republicans. The Democrats are lying about how this CR is somehow the Republicans making outrageous demands. The Republicans just want to keep the government open at regular spending levels so they can continue the appropriations process, which they should have done in a timely manner anyway, but that's a story for another day. The Democrats are now using this power to manipulate and try to figure out exactly what it is they can get out of the situation. And in order to do that, they've got to harm the American people.
We can see during this government shutdown how painful a missed paycheck is having on the American workforce. You saw Madison talk about to that young man who said, I have to invest in myself. I have to remember that I'm the driver of my own bus. And now the government is not working for them because Democrats have chosen to play this game. I couldn't be more frustrated. I visited your air traffic controllers. You had your guest on prior to that as well. They are working around the clock to keep Americans safe. And now we're not providing what they need from the government to keep it open. And I visited those air traffic controllers. We need, 4,000 more air traffic controllers, and we haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, and that is something that is, before the shutdown even began, we had an air traffic controller shortage. We were trying to recruit air traffic controllers. And now the Democrats shutting down the government are making a lot of people realize maybe I don't want to be an air traffic controller. Maybe I don't want to work for the government, because if I work for the government, there could be a shutdown and I won't get my paycheck. So maybe I'll go work in the private sector. Now, the problem with this is that the issue really is you shouldn't vote for Democrats. The issue is you shouldn't vote for Democrats because they're going to shut down your government out of petty squabbles instead of not going and working for the government. That should be, if you're torn between whether or not you go to work for the government as an air traffic controller or you get a job that won't necessarily be shut down. I could see how it's tricky, but I would advise you to get a government job and then vote Republican. That would be the best way. That would be the best way to handle it. But in New York City, at least, there's a lot of folks who are continuing to vote, not just for Democrats, but for communists now. And President Donald Trump is saying, look, we can't have that. And if you vote for a communist, there's going to have to be some decisions to be made. He wrote on Truth Social, if communist candidate Zohran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds other than the very minimum as required to my beloved first home, because of the fact that as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm. And I don't want to send, as president, good money after bad. It is my obligation to run the nation, and it is my strong conviction that New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mamdani win. His principles have been tested for over 1,000 years, and never once have they been successful. I would much rather see a Democrat who has a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. He was nothing as an assemblyman, ranked at the bottom of the class, and as mayor of potentially, again, the greatest city in the world, he has no chance to bring it back to its former glory. We must also remember this. A vote for Curtis Sliwa, who looks much better without the beret, is a vote for Mamdani. Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not. So Donald Trump saying, look, don't vote for Curtis Sliwa, vote for Andrew Cuomo because Mamdani will destroy New York City. What a very interesting and honest outlook on New York politics President Donald Trump provided on Truth Social. What a very interesting and honest outlook President Donald Trump has on the New York political landscape and what the mayoral race should look like. He knows that Republicans are always the better choice, but he knows that in this particular situation, the Republican has no chance. So vote for Andrew Cuomo, the bad Democrat who's better than the communist. Bad Democrat, better than a communist. That's the only way to save New York City. And Donald Trump says, if you vote for Mamdani, I'm probably going to have to cut off all the funding to New York City because it's just throwing money down the tubes. And he doesn't want to do that. He wants the best year ever. In fact, Scott Bessent yesterday was on one of these Fox News shows or one of these network news shows saying, hey, we are going to have the best year ever.
Where do you see the next year going?
I think next year we're going to go back to what we had in President Trump's first term, which was very solid, high, non-inflationary growth. So we're going to see very strong job growth. And Jesse, I think we're going to have what I call parallel prosperity. Main Street can do well. Wall Street can do well. It's been a long time since Main Street's done well, and that's what happened in Trump 1.0. Hourly workers did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of households had a net worth increase that was higher than the top 10%. So we are going to see Main Street surge here, along with Wall Street, which we've already seen. So I think it's going to be a great year next year. I think inflation is going to come down. We're seeing gasoline prices come down. We should see interest rates come down, which will help the housing market.
Yeah, it's going to help the housing market, and we're going to have a bang up banner year. Of course, we've got to get this government reopened, and that it requires either 5 Democrats or the nuclear option. 5 Democrats seem unlikely, and the nuclear option, a lot of Republicans are saying they don't like that either. So it's going to take somebody's going to have to crumble. Either the Republicans are going to have to say goodbye to the filibuster, or the Democrats are going to have to say goodbye to money for illegal aliens. But it's got to happen quick because we are headed into a record number of days for a government shutdown. And we are headed into a very busy holiday season where we need all of our government workforce working as hard as they possibly can. We will have more on all of this stuff, Dick Cheney's death and the government shutdown and what President Donald Trump is up to today in our second daily podcast. In the meantime, go Trump yourself. Get my book, Go Trump Yourself, and figure out how to make the most of your economic situation in tough economic times. 10 ways to live like Trump in any economy. Go Trump Yourself. It's only $24 for the digital bundle. You get the audiobook and the ebook so you can read and listen at the same time. It's only $24, like I said, and it's delivered instantly. The reviews are outstanding. Go Trump Yourself. Get the book today and start living like Trump tomorrow.